So look at him next to Vanna. Vanna's 5'4".
My wife is filling me in. Love Island over here. He's not 5'10"?
No.
He's like 5'7"?
No, 5'5".
Oh, they're like really like exposing him?
Uh-huh.
Amazing. Let some people tune in here. It takes a little bit.
Let me get
Tuned day. Drinking some of this drink right here. I like some of these drinks like this. They're not like loaded with as much sugar, although it is the sugar diet. Not everything I drink has to be loaded with sugar. I still have diet soda and stuff like that here and there too. And like Gatorade Zero and that sort of thing. But now you can also have full-on Gatorade as well. Kind of nice to be able to mix it up. Body weight was 212 today, consistently staying under 215, but still working my way down to 205 and 200. It hasn't been easy because I've been working on really trying to sustain muscle mass. And here today, I want to talk about some freedom away from so much sugar dieting and so much sugar fasting. You guys have seen Cole Robinson's made a shift, and he says the sugar diet is dead, and that it's, he thought it died like a month ago when he was just recognizing some trends in the people that he helps. Well, with the people that I help, we've been going a different route slightly almost the entire time. And you guys seen me release the Smelly Protocol, the Smelly Protocol 2.5 and the Smelly Protocol 1.5. One of those calls for you to go a day and a half without much protein. The other one has you go for 2.5 days without protein. But these are for individuals that want to see results quickly, and then you're going into having some starch, and then you're going into having some lean sources of protein, and then you're going back into the sugar fast again. And then I also have people kind of double down on the weekend, because I think the weekend is a great opportunity for those of you that have a lot of obligations during the week to get in some great training sessions. So get into really good lifting sessions on the weekend, and that's where you can kind of fortify yourself with the starches and with the proteins and stuff. And you can do that as you see fit. If you feel like you need it more than, if you feel like you need it, then you need it. And then so just eat it. That's an easy way to kind of look at it. I do like the shift with Cole's message, and I think that I hope people just kind of hang in there with him. He's not losing his mind. At least I don't think so. At least he's not losing his mind just yet. He's really just after results. He's looking for results. I'm trying my best to get results with some people, and I'm not helping like a ton of people. I'm not helping like hundreds of people, except for, I guess, via this and the feedback that I get. But from the Smelly Protocol, people are having tremendous results. And then I'm also getting a lot of feedback from people I'm a little bit closer with. Jeff Powers comes to mind. That's somebody I've been helping with the sugar fasting and sugar diet stuff. And he's down over 30 pounds already, which is just great because he's been like sort of stuck, and he was just fatter than he wanted to be. And he's really made some great progress, but he's given me good feedback too. And he's had a lot of good intuition and insight for himself in terms of how much protein he needs. And that's what you guys need to get in tune with, is start to learn your body and learn what you need. And also, if you're not that in tune with your body, if you don't, feel this strong signal to eat a steak or something like that, then hey, what did you do for the day? Whatever you did for the day, that should match your diet. And that's always been the case. Like, that's a really important thing to do, and something I've talked about in my book, The War on Carbs, that I wrote many years ago, and also in the book Jacked and Tan. In both of those books, I talk about how your nutrition should really match up really well. And your nutrition and your training should match up really well together. For myself, I guess I just talk a little bit about how I'm eating, and then we can dive into some questions if you guys got questions. Hopefully I got some answers. But before I say exactly what I'm eating, I think this is an opportunity for people to have like a lot of freedom away from the sugar diet and away from just, because the sugar diet is very specific, right? What did we say the sugar diet is? The sugar diet is when you're having fruit juice, honey, maple syrup, sugar, and in some cases even some candy, not all candy, but some candy. And that is a specific protocol that you run for a specific amount of hours or a specific amount of days, and you utilize that as a tool to help reset or to recalibrate your body, maybe to recalibrate your metabolism, and maybe just to help you drop a couple lbs here and there, or help you recoup from a vacation, help you regroup from a birthday party, help you regroup from a barbecue that you went to, or whatever the hell it may be, right? So that's a great tool. But it's also great to learn how to continually lose weight and still have success on a low-fat diet. And I think that for myself, this diet is continually teaching me, it's taught me two things massively. And one thing I already knew about because I've been talking about it for a while. When you guys tuned into the single-digit body fat series, I was talking about prioritizing protein, and I was talking to you a lot about keeping those fat calories low. And keeping the fat calories low is going to be really important for you to be able to lose body fat. Now, I do think that Cole's recommendation of like trying to keep your fats under 10 every day, I think for a lot of the people that are on YouTube that are looking to get a better body, excluding some of the people that are like very, very heavy, but like if you have to lose like 40, 50, 60, 100 pounds and so on, then I think the rules can be a little different for you. You can have slightly a different style of diet, but under 10 grams of fat is not, your luck is gonna run out when you have under 10 grams of fat day in and day out. Your hormones, your libido, a lot of things are gonna drop off, and you're gonna have a hard time producing hormones in your body if you're any leaner than that. So if you're leaner, if you don't need to lose like 30, 40, 50 pounds, and you should know who you are, then I think having your fats that low, I don't think there's any great reason for it, except for maybe you do that a couple times a week. So your fats could be 30, 40 grams, which has been my recommendation almost the whole time through, because I think with 40 grams and you occasionally taking a break from that even, I think you should be able to remain very healthy and not have any of your blood markers get out of whack and not have your energy or these other things get screwed up. So the way I'm eating is still pretty much the same. The only exception is just as of today, I woke up, I did some fasted cardio, just wanted to see how that felt. I went to bed at like 11:30 last night, and I ate probably at like 10:30. And so I felt like whatever I had the evening before was still in the system. I still had a great session. I did a Peloton bike workout. That felt really good. And then after that, I had my first meal of the day. My first meal of the day today, rather than it being a smoothie or being simple sugars only, I ate a decent amount of fruit. And I also had a bowl of lean turkey with some shrimp and some potato and some rice. And that was absolutely delicious and really good. And then I basically just had my second thing for today, which was this kind of smoothie bowl kind of thing that I made. And I had some cherries with that, and I was just eating that, and I got this guy here. So, and I tried some jelly beans this morning that I didn't really like. They weren't very good. So that's pretty much what I ate for today. And that's the way I'm gonna be eating kind of from here on out. I'm gonna have probably 2 meals every single day that have a decent amount of protein in it, but minimal amounts of fat. Still gonna be leveraging those sugars around the workouts, leveraging those sugars for energy, and also utilizing protein leverage to stay and get full, which I've been promoting for a really long time. So there is a little bit of shift going on here with this diet, because I think it's important to really tune in to like what's working for people. And when something's not really working great for people, I don't think we have to abandon it, because it still is working for some people, but I do think it's important to make changes and to make announcements like this and start to talk about it openly. So it'd be great if you guys let me know kind of what you guys think of some of the changes, and also some of the results, or some of the areas where you're getting stuck. So if we got some questions, let's let her rip.
Somebody asked that there's been some...
Just try to talk a little louder, sorry.
Someone wants to know if there's any potential for liver damage on a sugar diet.
You know, everyone's going to be a little bit different. So I'm trying to think of like how to exactly word this. You're never assured anything. I mean, somebody could have, you know, a propensity for having fatty liver or something like that that I don't know about, and they could get fatty liver from a diet that's not that rich in fat even, you know. It's just like bad luck or you know, a poor luck of the draw or whatever it might be. But I would say no, for the most part, like with the sugar diet, you shouldn't really end up with fatty liver. You are consuming fructose and you are consuming fruit and fruit juice and stuff. But for those of you that have concern over that, then I would just maybe not eat candy. I'd maybe stay away from sugar. I'd be a little bit more cautious with like spiking things up with a lot of carbohydrate. I would look at the food labels. And when you look at food labels, for somebody that wants to be a little bit more cautious with it, maybe you're just looking at like, oh, I just want like 50 to 70 grams of carbohydrate, you know, in a given meal or before a workout or something like that, rather than thinking that, you know, you're gonna make some giant smoothie that has like 400 grams of sugar in it. For myself personally, I got my labs back, I got my blood work back. My liver function is, it's never amazing. It's always a little bit out of the normal range, but I would say that that's from AAS, that's from, you know, anabolic and androgenic steroids that I've been doing for many years. And I don't make light of that, but when I got my blood work done, which was about, it took like 6 or 7 weeks to get my blood work back. At that time, I was not taking anything to assist my liver, and just more recently, I started adding a little bit of supplements in there. Tudca is one of them, TUDCA, and the other one is choline. So I'm utilizing both of those tools to assist my liver. Also, too, by kind of stressing the liver and utilizing like fructose and sugars, you're actually in some weird way promoting like a healthier liver. Now you could overtax it, and if we start to eat fats and stuff like that with that as well, then we're gonna start to run into some problems. I would say with all diets, this is something that everyone should be aware of. Whether you're doing keto, carnivore, or veganism, or even the sugar diet, if you have a really hard time with complying to the diet, and then when you fall off, you're super destructive, that is a very destructive diet, and you have to try to figure out a way to prevent yourself from binging, because that binging under those circumstances is causing massive and accelerated damage in a way that's hard to figure out or trace, because I don't really know if there's been a lot of studies on it. But follow me for a second here. Let's say that you're a keto person, right? And you go off the rails because it's, you know, 4th of July is this, you know, coming up this Friday. And you eat all these, you know, fatty foods at this barbecue, but then, I don't know, you get a sweet tooth and you have some Ben and Jerry's, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you're having a hard time getting back on track on Monday, and you fell off and you ate ice cream and pizza and all these carbohydrates while you're on this high fat, high saturated fat, ketogenic diet for a while. Well, now you have a mixed macro thing that's in a caloric surplus, and you're probably causing more damage. Follow me here for a second. You're probably causing more damage doing that than somebody who's not even trying to be on a diet that's just on the standard American diet. The same could be said for someone who is craving really fatty meat that's on a sugar diet, and now they just want this explosion of fat. So I think, again, when you mix the fat and carbohydrates together, I don't think that like something magically happens and your body explodes and then you die. There's nothing crazy like that happens. There is metabolic gridlock that does happen. But I think that when you look at it as at an overall picture, it's very easy to overeat when you mix macros. And so that is something that I would just caution everybody against. Next question.
Someone said that eating high amounts of sugar is making them hungrier. Do you have any advice on that?
Yeah, this is exactly the reason for bringing in some protein.
Maybe repeat the question.
Yeah. The question was, what the hell do I do? I can't get satiated. I can't fill myself up on this diet. And I've heard people say that many times. Look, if I told you to eat like 2 apples, it's like that's shitty advice, right? Because Who the fuck wants to do that, right? If I told you to eat 2 bananas, you know, who would really want to do that? It's like not that exciting. But I have done stuff like that before, and it has helped me stay satisfied. I've actually taken 2 bananas before, dumped some honey on them and dumped some salt on them, and they were like, it was amazing. It was really, really good. But to fill up on just like sugars, it just doesn't like, it doesn't feel right. Like it's not, there's no heaviness to it. So rather than just like telling you to eat more fruit and telling you to eat more vegetables, although those things could be really helpful, I would tell you the next thing to look into is to start to think about when are you gonna have protein next? And start thinking about lean sources of protein. Lean sources of protein, I would say, I wouldn't necessarily go fat-free cottage cheese. I kind of think fat-free cottage cheese is gross. I would go with the 2%. I do like fat-free yogurts, 000 yogurt. There's a couple other brands out there that make really good flavored yogurts that don't have a lot of extra stuff in them. And you can add fruits to those. But once you start to leverage some protein in there, you know, protein has been something that has been talked about a lot by Ted Naiman. And Ted Naiman has this whole protein leveraging theory. He's written books on this. He's now has written his 2nd book on it. And he talks about how like a donut is pretty like satisfying, but it's not overall like all that satiating, although it does have fat in it. It does have carbs. And so for the period of time that your body has this glycogen in it and fats in it and stuff, you feel like you feel a little bit of fullness because it was like delicious, but maybe within an hour or 2 hours, then you're like kind of ferociously hungry. Whereas if you were to have like a couple of eggs or something like that, it really brings the hunger down. Having fat in your diet too is something that really helps a ton with not only like just satiation and the feeling of some fullness, but it also helps you with feeling full and staying full for a longer period of time. And that's why it's so important for us to pull our body fat off of our body so that we can get ourselves down into a position where we can actually eat more dietary fat on a regular basis so that we don't have to feel like empty all day. Eating fats and proteins together is something that can be really useful. So looking into your protein count and how much protein you're eating on a given day can be really useful. I know for my wife, I know for myself, like we just take some 000 yogurt, we throw This Is the Way protein on top. We end up with, I don't know, 30 to 50 grams of protein. You just mix that up with a spoon, maybe dump a little water on there if you don't like it to be too thick, and then throw some blueberries on top of that. Maybe even some raspberries or blackberries if you like those too, or dump on maybe some honey, whatever fits your kind of flavor profile. Something like that should be pretty damn filling. Now, if you're trying to stay on the sugar diet, you're trying to, you know, stay within the confines and the rules of the sugar diet, then you'll have to do what I mentioned earlier and have 2 bananas or 2 apples. Usually if you have 2 of anything, 2 bananas, 2 apples, or 2 oranges, it's usually like pretty filling and will get you to the next meal.
What are long-term strategies for this diet or a keto diet or carnivore diet, anything like that?
I think long-term strategies for almost every single diet is just to change diets. It's just a shift. How far could someone go on a particular diet before you have to admit that the diet changed? This is a question I've been having for some people because some people are like, oh, you just do this, my same diet. You know, I had this one diet. I have the Dolce diet, or I have the vertical diet from Stan Efferding, or the Mike Dolce diet. And that's not really true. You're under the same umbrella of what they're talking about because their diets are well balanced, right? But when you start to get lean, you're starting to cut down some food choices, and you're usually, almost always, there are some exceptions, but almost always you're doing the same strategy every single time. You're just cutting out dietary fat. So you start to plummet down your dietary fat. Like, at what point does your diet start to change? At what point is your diet starting to single out a macronutrient, like a low-fat diet, like a ketogenic diet? At what point does a ketogenic diet become a mixed diet? When you start to bring in some carbohydrates, or when you start to pull out some fats out of a ketogenic diet, when is it no longer a keto? Do you understand what I'm saying? So all these people that want to say that they're just on the same plan, no, their plan is changing, but it's changing within the system itself. And so here with something like the sugar diet, you would just switch gears a little bit, and you would switch gears towards the things that you're currently not doing. And that would be to probably looking to get a little bit more fats. That would probably be looking into getting maybe a little bit more starch or protein, kind of depending on the person. I know for myself, my plan is when it starts to get colder again, the fruit's gonna be a little bit more scarce. So I'm gonna probably bring down some of the fruit, and I'll probably be thinking of like heartier stuff. I'll probably be thinking of more like potatoes and rice, bone broths and soups and shit like that, stew, or getting out the slow cooker again and making some food like that that's like hearty and heavy hitting, and that has just a really good flavor profile to it. So that's this diet, I think, from the beginning, with me showing some candy being, you're never really sure of the impact you're gonna have, and I probably just shouldn't have done that. But it's just fun. Like, it's fun to just mess around and have a good time with stuff. What I was trying to show people was not that like this diet is incredible, look how much candy I'm eating and I'm getting shredded. That's not the point of it. The point of it was just to show like, hey, this is actually part of this diet. Just like butter is part of keto. Like, you don't find butter in nature. You don't like, walk in the woods and like see butter everywhere or see heavy cream. These are things that are manufactured. They're things that we figured out how to make. Same thing with sugar from sugar cane or from beets or however the hell they make sugar. Even things like honey, they're like fortified, and they're made a certain way. Like, we have to do stuff to them to make it easier for us to consume and for us to eat. And so then you get like a jar of honey that's like this big, right? And you have like almost literally thousands of carbohydrates in like a jar of honey, where I don't know how honey works. I don't think you would ever like see that much honey just sitting there in nature, especially not all year round in most places and stuff like that. So yeah, I was just kind of doing some of that for fun in the beginning, but it kind of showed people, like, maybe it showed some of the wrong people, or maybe people just had a misinterpretation of like how much, because while candy is fine for getting shredded, it's not great for delivering nutrients. It's really kind of only delivering like one decent nutrient, and that's carbohydrate. And then the rest of it's just all shit, because it's anti-nutrient. It's like filling up your stomach, but then it doesn't have potassium, it doesn't have sodium, it doesn't have these things that help regulate our hormones in our body. It doesn't regulate the signals in our body that tell us like we're no longer hungry. So it's just not a great option. But how cool is it to know that yes, you can have some fucking candy if you're gonna go to the movie theater, or you're on a flight and you're just bored and you wanna gnaw on some candy. Next question.
There's not a lot of questions, just a lot of comments.
Just a lot of people just going back and forth about the liver cane.
Just talking about nothing now. So I don't know. You can probably
Yeah.
close out with it if you want to address like Cole Robinson or anything.
Yeah, I just want to say I am, supporting Cole Robinson. I think what he's doing is awesome. I think the fact that he is hopping around, I think that it might annoy some of you. And I know some people have even gone as far as to make their own YouTube channel, talking about the sugar diet, sugar fasting. There's no reason why you still can't. You can still talk about it. Just because he's shifting gears doesn't mean that you have to shift gears. But for myself, I think that this is a good move, because I think the sugar diet and sugar fasting has taught most people what they need to know for now. And now they can kind of shift gears a little bit, and they can start to add in a little bit of protein and kind of see how this does for them now. Also, there's still unfinished business for most of you with the sugar diet. Like, how many of you have actually done a sugar fast, and for how many days? It's still worthwhile to experiment and to see how it works for you, and then to also utilize your own insights, utilize your own intuition. Like, what do you think would be right? When I gave this diet to Chase Irons, that's another guy that you should follow. Chase has a lot of great information. Chase immediately was like, oh, here's what I'm gonna do with this. because he is somebody who's been in the diet game for a long time. And so he felt for himself that he needed to make some alterations. And I was about to say, you shouldn't do that. And I was like, well, why would I tell him he shouldn't do it? Because it's his experiment. And this is your experiment. And so play around with it. Maybe somebody like Cole has said in the past, maybe he said, do a pop fast, just drink soda. And maybe now he thinks that's dumb, but just because he thinks it's dumb doesn't mean you can't try it. Also, too, I've heard Cole talk about not really doing fasted cardio. Well, if you like fasted cardio and you think it's going to be helpful for you, why not do it? The things that you guys believe in and the things that are generally good for you, that you believe in, they probably work. That there's probably some sort of intuition that you have with yourself. You probably know certain things that help you to lose weight, but then you get shifted. You listen to someone like me, or you listen to someone like Cole, or you listen to whoever it is on a podcast, and then your mind shifts. You're like, yeah, that person's right. I shouldn't be on keto. I should be eating carbs. And that's okay if you shift, and that's okay if you try something new, you try something different. But it doesn't mean that the stuff that you did before doesn't work for you. It just means sometimes you're getting influenced to go one way or the other, but you truly know some of the answers for yourself. You want to try to lock in on what are those answers. All of us know that if we want to lose weight, we basically need to just stop eating so much. There's a point in the day where all of us are a little bit weak, where we're a little bit vulnerable, and we just eat too much. And we might have one day that goes by pretty good, and we didn't eat that much, and we got through the day, and we just went to bed when we're supposed to and stuff. And then there's the next day. And the next day, you're ferociously hungry because you made it through the previous day without the same amount of food as you're used to. It feels like an uphill battle, and at some point you cave, and then you end up overeating, then you end up weighing the same as you did the day before, and the same as you did the day before, and so on. And it's just kind of big, vicious cycle. And we need to figure out ways to get out of it. So sometimes you'll even hear people preach against doing some cardio. I did some cardio today because I'm like, you know what? I actually could use a little bit of an uptick of cardio. I'm gonna start to hit the bike again. I've had this foot thing going on for a long time. Actually today it felt great, so that's really good. Hopefully it gets better, but I haven't been walking as much. I definitely got rid of running for about 4 months now, and I have this diet to be able to help me get leaner, but this whole process would have went so much faster if I was still able to run. So it's kind of cool though to have a strategy where I can lose weight, because I have knocked off about 10 pounds. It's nice to have a strategy that I can knock off some weight, even without the running. Lastly, I'll just throw out a couple things. I got some blood work back. I probably have Stan or somebody interpret it on the podcast. It does me no good just to tell you guys all these different numbers without having somebody represent it and interpret it. But I do know my fasted insulin was really good. My fasted glucose was better than it normally is on a low carbohydrate diet. My A1C was in line, it was good. Triglycerides is something that a lot of people have questions about, and lipid profile. Most of that stuff was good, except for my HDL cholesterol was a little bit on the low side, which is partly from not eating hardly any fat, and then also probably even more so from anabolic androgenic steroid use. So those are some of the things. There's a little give and take with all that, and so I have to always try to figure out what's my next move with some of those performance-enhancing drugs. And the same answer is for that is with my food. It's just do less of it, eat less of it. The answers are pretty simple. But you don't want the answers to be that simple. Sometimes we want them to be a little bit more complicated or complex. Anyway, that's a report from me. That's some sugar dieting, some sugar fasting. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.